Hello and welcome to IndiaPostLive.com, India's first live and interactive news conversation web TV. We've been bringing you analysis, views and insights on the various trends that are taking place in the verdict 2014. Counting is showing leaders, winners and a lot of losers across India. India and the vote bank has given its verdict on election 2014. Narendra Modi and the BJP seem to have taken and crossed the 272 mark to ready to form the government. The two keywords, or the four keywords in fact, fear and hope seem to be the ones that have taken over election 2014. They were largely the keywords that seem to be determining the way the people voted, the way the electorate voted in the Indian democracy. Narendra Modi seemed to be from various cities on Google Hangout and Skype, and we'll get to them very soon. I'll come to you, Dilip. What does brand Narendra Modi and now the government, Modi government, signify? Fears and hopes, which way do you feel, what are the expectations from the Modi government?
As the hashtag says at the moment, Modi at 7 RCR, I think what matters now is what happens when he gets to the Prime Minister's office. All the rest is just discussion, and people who are obsessed about the merry play of democracy, vote shares, and the shenanigans that go on in any party. It's really what he does. Remember that Modi has gotten on really one big vote, and that big vote is the young vote. And the young vote is defined by being demanding and restless. So he's got to pretty much hit the ground running. Is he capable of doing it? The answer is a resounding yes, because this is a man who knows his rhetoric and he knows the runway. So I think he's been planning for this. On that count, we have less to worry about, and the party simply doesn't matter because he is it, and whatever else anyone might say, there could be other issues.
So take it from that note, the young voter, they seem to have given their final choice. But are there any concerns? We spoke to a lot of young people at the Jawaharlal Nehru University campus. Take a look to what their concerns and reactions are to the Modi government.
In West Bengal, when Modi visited West Bengal for an electoral meeting, he said, those who are with the Durgashtami, we have no problem with them, but those who do not celebrate Durgashtami, we will send them back to Bangladesh. Now, very funny.
Very interesting to see if the RSS tomorrow presses for a construction of the Ram Mandir or an abolition of the Article 370. How will Narendra Modi manage these tensions? So I think that is a very real problem for the BJP and the NDA.
Those monies that has been pumped in during these elections, and those corporates will definitely take back that money. How will they take? Definitely there will be inflationary pressure, definitely there will be pro-corporate policy dictators, has to be there. So I don't think that they will be able to undo the corporate takeover of the entire government that we saw in the last 10 years.
यूनिवर्सिटी के अंदर वहीं पर पहले दिन ही जब हम लोग कैंपेनिंग करने के लिए बीएचयू के बाहर इकट्ठा हुए, कुछ 15-20 लोग हमें घेरते हैं और धमकी देते हैं कि आप लोग दिल्ली वापस चले जाइए वरना बहुत आपको उसका अंजाम भुगतना पड़ेगा.
So Amit, do you feel that there are genuine concerns, or will the concerns actually be allayed?
First, I would say it's a landslide victory of some kind, and Narendra Modi, in one of the last speeches and public statements, he said that the election rhetoric and the kind of viciousness which was there should not be replaced in the post-election scenario, and there should not be vindictiveness towards each other, including political parties which have abused each other, and we should have a kind of a public decency of conduct and a sense of sensibility and conduct of moral conduct which is there. So even if one should accept, one should believe that kind of final statement in the kind of a face value, because India is also a very complex, plural, democratic country. They might have the BJP and RSS represent a certain strong dogmatic inner core of their ideology, but the Indian Constitution is much higher than that. And they will take the oath under the Indian Constitution. And the Indian Parliament is also diverse and represents. Let us not forget the fact that those who are defeated also belong to India. And what is the old kind of a metaphor that you should take your victory with humility, and you take your defeat with strength and acceptance. So I presume to start with that, they will not use this, one is as a political journalist, one would expect, because we deal with, political journalists also deal with BJP on a regular basis, and it is not that if you write critical things about them, they attack you in the same manner as they attack the students in Banaras. Or elsewhere. So there is a kind of a public conduct which is, one expects that in victory they will be gracious, they will be magnanimous, and they will be tolerant, and they will have the big picture in their sensibility, because India is a big and vast country, and India is an emerging economic power of some kind. We are also playing an important player in foreign policy initiatives in many, including Arab countries, Islamic countries, Middle East, West Asia, and Pakistan, of course, is our neighbor, and we have over the years.
So all eyes on Modi government to be able to conduct itself with maturity and responsibility. I'll bring in Raj Rishi Singhal, who's a senior fellow at the Gateway House. We don't seem to have that connection. I apologize. We have Mr. Rahul Chahal, who's a general secretary of.
Raj Rishi is there. You've got Raj Rishi.
We do have.
Yeah, that's him.
Yes, we do have a student from Jamia, in fact, joining us live on Google Hangout. Could you please introduce yourself?
Countries, Middle East, West Asia, and Pakistan, of course, is our neighbor, and we have.
If you can hear us, I think I'll bring in Mr. Raj Rishi Singhal. He is with us. Mr. Raj Rishi, if you can hear our conversation.
Who's a senior fellow at the Gateway House. We don't seem to have that connection. I apologize. We have Mr. Rahul Chahal, who's the general secretary of.
Mr. Raj Rishi, if you can put on your headphones.
Jamia, in fact.
I'll just come to you. We'll try and figure out the technical connection. Dilip, do you agree that there is a lot at stake now? There's a huge responsibility for the Modi government in the days ahead to conduct itself in a certain manner.
A huge responsibility, and a responsibility that also is predicated by the way the public has responded, the voter has responded, and vote shares have gone up, but also the way the stock markets have gone up. So he has many things that he has to worry about. In fact, I think maybe we should try and see whether we can get Raj Rishi, who's a watcher of markets, to talk about it, because I think that the way the markets are at the moment, it's clear that the expectations are at a stratospheric level. So you would have to recognize that Namo has to do things very quickly. Besides, for the voter, he has to worry about what the globe is looking for, what investors are looking for, and aspects of that.
Definitely. I'll request some of our guests who have joined us via Google Hangout to please not access our website at this point. We seem to have some interference coming. Please log out of our website so that we can hear your voice clearly. If I can request Mr. Yusuf, Ms. Sarita Verma, and Raj Rishi Singhalji, also Rahul Chahal, if you could just not access our website. Yes, Mr. Raj Rishi, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Singhal, thank you for joining us on the conversation at India Post Live. We appreciate your time and participation. We were just talking about what a big responsibility the way ahead for the Modi government, and the hopes and fears that Narendra Modi as a personality invokes among people.
I think it's more hope today and optimism today than fear, because look at the surge of optimism and the the vote of confidence that he's got from the youth of this country. And I think they're all hoping that he'll be able to pull this country out of the mess that it is in, create jobs, bring growth back. So there is a whole lot of hope and optimism riding on Mr. Modi's election this time. His the kind of votes that he's got. So it's more hope than fear, I think, at this point of time.
Sir, as somebody who looks also at our economy, do you feel that the enthusiasm from the stock markets is going to be short-lived, and what are the steps that one needs to take really for the enthusiasm and the rally to continue? We've seen the rupee at an all-time high, 57 versus the dollar. what are the steps that Narendra Modi government really needs to ensure that we see this euphoria continuing in the next few months?
Yeah, I think you're right. It is euphoria indeed. So I think there will be a dose of realism in the days to come when Mr. Modi sits down to formulate his economic plan. I think there will be some big decisions that you will see in the first 100 days. Big bang decisions like decisions on taxation, decisions on industry, decision on investment. But a lot of this will take time to trickle down and create results in the form of jobs, create results in the form of growth. It is at this point of time that you will see some realism creep in, because Mr. Modi will have to contend with states, with different stakeholders like labor, and these are not going to be easy. He will also have to contend with some of his internal supporters, like commodity market dealers and traders who have been his traditional vote support base. So, and all of these will take some time. It's not going to be very easy. But
Rajesh, if I may just ask you, Rajesh,
Yes.
if I may just ask you, is there a thought process that big Gujarat interests, which are in the commodities, stock markets, etc., are a constituency that Modi needs to address in the first 100 days, or has this huge victory ensured that that doesn't matter, he can deal with it as he wishes to at his pace?
A couple of things, Dilip. One is that the huge surge that you've seen in the market currently, and both in the stock and the currency markets, have not come from domestic investors. It's come largely from foreign investors who are positioning themselves ahead of a result and ahead of some of the economic decisions that will be made in the days to come. So it is not typically his Gujarat constituency that has taken this position.
Sure.
And two, yes, I think he will be able to deal decisively with them in the first 100 days. And I think given the kind of support that he's got, I think the market will be willing to give him a long, long go and be willing to go along with him, because there is tremendous belief in what he's doing.
Agreed.
So,
we're getting a lot of reactions as well. We have some voices that we have recorded just a little earlier from various campuses and also from across Delhi. We'll try and get you those voices and what people had to say, their reactions to the final verdict 2014. Take a look.
What about your expectations with the Modi Sarkar?
Modi Sarkar, the expectations would be mainly the corruption, eradication of corruption, the price rise, and mainly employment.
This election is being for Modi, and this for a complete clear mandate that you don't be like Manmohan Singh. You put up a very strong and brave face to the world.
It's not about Modi or Congress or BJP, it's just about good governance, and I think we should give him a chance and see what he does.
I'm totally disappointed that such a non-secular figure has come up.
मोदी की सरकार आने से देखिए अभी तो हम लोग गरीब जैसे के विचार यही है कि हमारे कुछ तमन्ना है कि हमारे बिजनेस इधर उधर जो भी है आगे बढ़े.
Now I expect that decision making would be quick, very strong.
So what went wrong for the Congress?
I completely blame Rahul Gandhi and his politics, because as I told that if they would not have shown door to Pranab Mukherjee, the results would have been different.
I think everything went wrong for the Congress. They have been in all sorts of scams. They have not owned up responsibility for anything that they have done.
Did you expect BJP to get 272 or more than that?
Personally feeling, I was expecting NDA to cross the 272 mark.
Yeah, I have expected that they will get the full majority without any alliances.
No, I wasn't expecting. In fact, I thought there wouldn't be consensus on Modi per se.
So what are your fears?
I don't really have any such feelings, so it's okay, all good.
Disputes among BJP persons would arise.
I don't have any fears anymore. I don't think so.
The biggest fear is if they failed, so we are going in the same situation.
We also have Sarita Verma joining us from Trivandrum, assistant editor of the Financial Express, who will possibly shed some more light and insight on the economic policies that the Modi government will have to look at, and any kind of other key areas that they could focus on with the economy. Thank you, Ms. Sarita, for joining us from Trivandrum at the conversation on India Post Live. Ma'am, your first thoughts what the Modi government hopes and fears, and what would you say will be the key areas that they will need to focus on?
Thank you. I just heard, thank you for allowing me to join the discussion. Just as a speaker who just shared his opinion earlier, said the euphoria right now might be a temporary one. As always, it could only be a vote for change, not necessarily in tune with the political reaction. So the markets have already reacted by the BSE index have gone up by 6%. The rupee has shown its strength. But then the next step before the road ahead before Modi could be tough. He would need to make the whole how long this honeymoon would last would mainly depend on the kind of on the type of talent scout he does for the key posts, especially in the in the financial sector. You take RBI for example. It would depend upon how well the Modi government teams up with the central bank, how well he can influence the monetary policy to control the inflationary measure. The present level of inflation. Next, the FIIs, however, will not be looking at the inflation. They will be looking at what kind of team he will be looking for. The Modi will be picking up for the key posts like that of finance minister, and also the right people for making his budget.
As a Muslim community,
if you were given a choice, Ms. Sarita Verma, if you were given a choice, who would you like to see as Modi government's finance ministerial choice?
No, it's not a question of how. I am asking Muslim community this question: to become a prime minister of Modi, it is better for Muslim communities, not or not? And he is giving the tagline that Namo Namo. What does it mean?
Yes, we'll just come to you in 1 second. I know you want to join us. We'll just come to you, sir, in 1 second as a guest.
No.
Please identify your name and give us your background, please. You're not able to hear us. Are you able to hear us?
No, but they haven't.
We'll go back to Ms. Sarita Verma. Sorry to interrupt you, ma'am. We're trying to get a lot of callers who want to join the discussion. Who would you like to see as the choice for the finance minister's portfolio?
Actually, it's not an issue of who you or I would be wanting as the finance minister. I'm sure the Modi government would not be possibly addressing the various economic, socio-economic layers of the country, although it is they who put him voted him to power. Right now, Modi is likely to be in tune with the signals given by the FIIs.
Something like that. But on what I personally seen in Gujarat and what Modi did, I personally believe that he is not dividing people or giving posts or something like on the basis of like religion, I will say, because he believed development is for everyone. Okay, and first of all, the national security and everything is main, and what I personally, because I'm here to what I as a youth want him to do, and what we are seeing him, and we are as an ideal, we are believing that he will gonna do something for the youth and for the women's security, and the main what I have seen that he never used to divide people on the base of religion. Everyone, the media make that image that he will divide people and he will give even what you are, how much I'm getting you, that he will give the post to the like on the topmost post. Will the people from the minority committee will also get the post?
But personally, I believe he's not going to divide people on the basis of.
Right,
His main
right.
thing is development.
Okay,
India
okay,
first.
Rohit.
That's what
I understand. One last comment from Mr. Singhal before we take forward this conversation on our website. Mr. Rishi Singhal, Raj Rishi Singhal.
Yeah. I think the point made by my co-panelists is quite important, and I think everybody will be watching very closely on how inclusive Mr. Modi's policies are. Having said that, I think trying to be inclusive really has not worked in the past, because it's ended with political parties becoming, using tokenism to satisfy their inclusive agenda. So I think, yes, it is true that there is a concern, there is a worry, and we will all be watching very closely on how truly inclusive Mr. Modi's government is. But I think we should also be careful not to fall into this trap of tokenism, not to get taken in by small steps or by small gestures.
Right.
I think
right.
As I mentioned earlier, the social sector schemes are not just schemes to spend money, but they're also in some ways an attempt to improve inclusion in the system.
Okay.
So it will be very important to see how delivery systems work in those systems,
right.
Whether there is an improvement in the delivery mechanism in those
Right.
systems.
Right. On that note, improvement in delivery mechanisms, I would like to thank all our guests who joined us via Google Hangout. Thank you so much for your time and participation, and great. What really is the challenge ahead, according to what our panelists are also reflecting?
Despite the success and reasonable success of the farm loan waiver, then NREGA, the Forest Rights Act in the first instance, and later the proposal for the Food Security Act, etc., there has been major resistance from within the government of the Manmohan Singh's government. People like, I guess, Manmohan Singh and P. Chidambaram and even Montek Singh were not really supporting this initiative from within that. They also represented a certain kind of a corporate belief system in that.
So do you think that he's going to look at things other than corporate in the first few days?
I think, that is so because the corporates have backed Modi during the time of the Prime Minister itself. And it's, as I said earlier in one of the shows, that it is unprecedented in history that a Prime Minister who is the creator of the neoliberal political economy, during his phase, the corporates who were being pampered and subsidized by the and backed by the, they shifted while he was there and by the finance minister who was there. It is an amazing twist of history. Maybe we are too close to history to even look at it like that. But I presume that that pressure will be very, very strongly on them. And in terms of economic policies, I don't think there is much difference between the models of the BJP and the Congress party. They are very, very close to each other. So I think that dilemma will be whether social welfare mechanisms would be still implemented or not. That dilemma will be there, because the pressure it is not only the pressure from the upwardly mobile or those the beneficiaries of the neoliberal classes or the young aspirational classes. You can see there was a pressure from below also, and from the grassroots also.
Grassroots also. I'll just bring in Miss Talat Aziz from Gorakhpur. She's a social activist. Can you hear us, Miss Aziz?
Yes.
Please.
I would like, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. Just keep the camera a little away. Your earlier frame was much better. Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
What I would like to ask the panelists, do you think with the Modi government run now in the center, with the schemes for the minorities as suggested by the UPA, will they be implemented? We are very concerned about the status of the minorities in this country now.
I am nobody to answer it.
In Gujarat, they stopped all the schemes for the minorities which were given for students while he was chief minister. We are very apprehensive with.
Yes, I agree with Ms. Talat.
Yes, go ahead, Mr.
But I don't agree with Mr. Talat, Ms. Talat.
Yeah, I agree with Ms.
No, if I can.
They are going to stop all this. You see, minorities have been put in a very bad spot now.
Why people divide people on the name of minority and majority? I think Mr. Modi is giving equal right to everyone, what he believes in.
No, we need more rights. You see, we are very backward. We need so much more support than an average person living here. And now with the BSP,
I think how can you say that you are very backward? You are using a Skype and You are on the. This is not the point.
Mr. Naveen, I'll just interrupt you, Miss Talat Aziz. I'll just
I
interrupt
think
you.
everyone have a right, equal opportunity that Modi is giving.
Right.
Not dividing people on the base of minority and Muslims and everything. Yeah.
No, please, let us speak, and your chance will come. Let there be a rational discourse.
Right. We have somebody on the phone line joining us from the Naveen Sinha from the BJP's election cell, who was instrumental in keeping the election campaign as enthusiastic through the social media as well. Mr. Naveen Sinha joining us on the phone line. If you can hear us, Mr. Sinha.
Yeah, I can hear you very clear.
Could you answer one of our panelists? She has a genuine concern and a question for the BJP and the Modi-led government in the days ahead. What kind of assurance can they give to the minority community in terms of the welfare schemes that the government will have to frame?
The government, there has been, we don't do the fraud things of making schemes and other things. We genuinely do the good governance and then benefit the public directly. When the whole estate gains, every individual, every Indian will gain from that. So it's not a soap making and offering them something else extra, you know. And our capabilities have been in good governance.
Right. There seems to be, we don't have clear audio from him, but we'll go to Ms. Talat Aziz. Ms. Aziz, also looking beyond the welfare schemes factor, what is the ground reality? What are the kind of reactions you are getting from Gorakhpur in terms of the 272 mark and the huge number of seats that the BJP has managed to garner in this time?
We are very perturbed because the state parties like the Samajwadi Party and the BSP, which were very functional in UP, have seemed to have just disappeared, and now it seems to be a fight between 80% and 20%, which is quite alarming. You see, but we know that they are right-minded people with the other community also, but the kind of swing that this election has seen, it's unprecedented, and we have never seen a thing like this before. So there's a lot of apprehension in my community, in adjoining areas as well. I'm in touch with a lot of more people of my community, and they're all apprehensive of this government. We only hope and wish that development may be the main agenda.
Right, development be the main agenda. Mr. Rahul Chahal from the ABVP, go ahead, please, with your comment. Mr. Rohit Chahal, I apologize. Go ahead with what you were trying to say.
Yeah, whole election, if you say that Modi did not talk about anything about riots or anything like that. In last 1 year, there were the 200 riots only in Uttar Pradesh. But no media, no one talking about that. But only 2000 go to Gujarat riot and everything. Like, he always talk about development. His whole agenda was the development model, and Gujarat model.
Rohit, we are scared.
Yeah.
I mean, apprehensive about Modi because we have seen he came into news and power.
The more like 200 riots took place in a Samajwadi Party government, and you are not scared of the Samajwadi government. That's very.
Anybody but God. Hello, we are not scared of anybody. That let me assure you. But we are apprehensive about the kind of statement and the kind of...
That is the point. Why we are... We believe that he will give a good government.
Mr. Rohit, just try and hear out what Ms. Aziz is saying. Ms. Aziz, also I would request you to let Rohit finish his point. He's talking to all of our panelists, not just specifically to you. Let our other panelists also participate and let's have an interactive discussion here. I believe, Rohit, the genuine concern from the minorities and several sections, including academics and civil society, the top priority or the top concern seems to be that will the development agenda or the key word of development and governance really actually translate into actual execution?
I think Modi have given about what she was asking, that the minority is having some fear. I think after 2002 riots that people used to talk about, there is no riot took place in 12 years in Gujarat, first of all. Second thing, there was a development took place in Gujarat. That's why now he is winning from almost 5 lakh margin in Gujarat only. Continuously winning from last 3 elections in Gujarat. If there was not good development model in Gujarat, then why the hell people are choosing him? Like, what I personally believe people of the Gujarat are not fool. They are choosing him continuously from the 3 terms. That means he did something for the Gujarat people. And now choosing him from last almost 5 lakh margin, it's a very big margin. So even I think Muslim people are also voting. If you're talking about UP only, that BJP is getting 70 seats in UP, more than 70 seats in UP. That means Muslim people are also voting for BJP.
No.
I'm not here to support BJP, but what I personally believe, there are few people who will not
Mr. Rohit, do you think they have any option after 2002 riots in Gujarat to give vote to Modi?
Listen, I'm not here to
have any other option.
I'm not here to sit and
Rohit,
discuss about
Rohit,
the
let
2002
let
Gujarat
let
riots.
her let.
Do you think they have any option after 2002 riots in
We are
Gujarat
sitting
to
here
give
for a
vote to Modi?
election result.
Let-
But I personally believe that the development will be the issue, and in the upcoming time,
Mr.
They cannot
Javed,
say that there
Javed,
is
let
margin like 5
Javed,
lakh rupees.
Mr. Rohit, I'll just have to
Yes,
interrupt
sorry.
you 1 second. Javed,
Yeah.
if you have a specific question, please make a question and let somebody respond to you.
yeah.
Javed,
Can I
ask
put
you.
up a
I'll ask my
The point is that I think we are expecting from Modi is like there will be a security for the women. There was a big problem going on nowadays for the women's security. The employment is a big issue. The development, the security,
this is what
internal
you
external
mentioned,
security.
because
Every
it's
other
the
day there's an Naxalite attack
Right.
took place in
Thank
India.
you. Okay, thank you,
And
Rohit. We've heard what you're
and-
saying, the points that you're
and-
making. Let
and-
our other guest,
also one of the
Javed,
main
actually
concerns
ask a question.
You know,
Javed?
I want to get back, to an issue that you raised earlier about social sector schemes.
Right, Mr. Singhal,
This is
yes.
Rajesh Singhal. So I just want to add that, it will be very difficult for any new government to completely do away with the existing social sector schemes. The World Bank has just come out with a report on the social sector schemes across the world, and it shows that two of India's social sector schemes, namely NREGA and the midday meal scheme, figure among the top 5 social sector schemes across the world. So there is a lot of money on the ground that is being spent and is likely to be spent going forward. So, I don't think it will be prudent for any new government, whether it's Mr. Modi's government or any other government, to really, either cut budgets or to stop such a scheme.
Can I make an intervention? Small
Yes.
intervention? You see, I would like to say that if development is not the only agenda in a society, and development is also an abstract concept. There are twilight zones in the Gujarat model itself. There are several internal critiques have come up from within the economic community about the low about malnutrition,
And the healthcare sector,
healthcare sector, education, malnutrition, the
Indicate
condition of
social
untouchabilities, Dalits, and there has been a kind of a mythical manufactured consent also in terms of a media hype about the Gujarat model. When there are states like Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra and Haryana, they have done in human development indicators much better in many senses. Having spoken about that, I would say that there is a prevailing argument, which is a kind of a dominant discourse, that just because you get victory, it doesn't give you show that you are absolutely right. In the sense, there are, in Gujarat itself, when Modi has been winning continuously for 3 terms, around 40 to 43% people have voted for the Congress also. So those who have got defeated, they are also part of India, and it is not that your victory, majoritarianism is not a constitutional victory in that sense. You have got a majority through vote, but that does not constitute that your argument is absolutely correct. Second, there is a genuine fear amongst not only minorities, there is a fear amongst large sections of the secular fabric in India that there is a certain kind of a discourse and a politics and an ideology which BJP represents. BJP supports the demolition of Babri Masjid. Modi has openly said to Bangladeshi should be thrown out. It's a mythical concept, Bangladeshi. Those who don't believe in Durga Ashtami, etc. Gujarat situation of Muslims have not been very well. The justice process has been delayed, and there has been continuously, a second-class treatment being given to Muslims. So there has been a genuine apprehension. These apprehensions cannot be camouflaged or overruled by a one-dimensional rhetoric of development which you push down the throat of people.
Right. On this note, I'll get final comments from Javed. Javed, do you have a specific question for our panelists? I believe we've lost connection with Javed. Ms. Sarita Verma, just go ahead with your final comment here.
I would like to, this is not just about the social sector schemes. I think the point is well raised that there are apprehensions across the country, across several economic levels, socio-economic layers of the country, communal layers of the country, of how well a government that came on a communal card will figure in the secular sector. So it would be
I have one question.
So it would be imperative for the Modi government to visibly show to improve the perceptions of the nations regarding how inclusive it will be in its social sector development.
Very interesting point raised.
Not just in terms of implementation of the social schemes, but by inclusion of people from various sectors in the key positions.
Right. Ms. Verma, very interesting point raised. Rohit, would you like to make a quick last comment and reply to Ms. Verma?
Yeah, I just want to say one thing. There's no, what I already also said, that why people are just discussing about communal. Only one thing, I already said that last from 12 years, not a single riot took place in Gujarat.
No, we are not talking about riots. We are talking about whether there will be inclusiveness in the policy. Are you listening to the? We can perform better in the next competitive Olympics. So we can also take forward this conversation on our Twitter handle @IndiaPostLive. Thank you all for a very lively and engaging discussion, and definitely all eyes on the Modi government, hopes, fears and a lot of expectations riding on the next government in the days ahead. Thank you so much for watching and stay tuned to IndiaPostLive.com.
Thank you.